Hello, thank you for joining our 211 database training. This training will get you started in the county of Medina, how to find resources for the clients that you serve. The information here can be used towards any of the counties that we serve, but this will focus mainly on results that you will find in the Medina County database. Hopefully you're all aware of what 211 is and that you have used it at one point or another to help either yourself or the clients that you serve. But if not, that's fine. You are in the right hands. We're going to get you all the information that you need in order to serve clients better. But if you've never come into contact with 211, I'd like to tell you a little bit about what 211 is. 211 is a free, confidential helpline. We connect people to services 24/7, 365. That means that you could call on Christmas, you could call 3 a.m. on Christmas, and someone is going to be there to take your call. There are multiple ways to get resources. The first way, and probably the most popular, is to dial 211, where you can call and speak with an actual live person. The second way that we'll be talking a lot about today is the 211medina.org database. And third, you can also text your zip code to 898-211, where you will be entered into our text line, and you can get texts about information within seconds, anytime, day or night. So why choose 211? Well, 211 is the entry point into social service delivery system for many people in our community. We house considerable data on community needs. When you call us, we will ask for demographic information. Not only do we store this information, which can be helpful in grant writing or proposals for agencies to create new services, we also do it to obtain eligibility information for certain programming. Also, our 211 resource database is a great tool for understanding government and nonprofit resources in our communities. The key benefits of using 211. First, it's easier than calling or searching each agency separately. It can get overwhelming to call each agency and try to find out eligibility, only to find out that perhaps you're not eligible for a service. Using 211 can help take the question out of applying before you even apply. Because, as we know, the social service system is complicated, and we do help break it down into steps. The availability of services change. 211 is a curated database that's constantly updated. The 211 database team is great at following agencies on Facebook, as well as getting annual updates from agencies. But following on Facebook is a great way for us to get those incremental updates, such as pantry closures or time changes, things that maybe aren't thought of in a yearly update. So we are very, very good at keeping our services up to date, and it reflects automatically on the online database also. Many times individuals do not know what to search for, or they might even think of their need very narrowly. For example, when somebody calls in, they can have tunnel vision to their problem. They need rental help. They need employment. Well, what are the barriers behind those things? Our agents are trained to think about that and to help eliminate those barriers that are actually stopping them from achieving stable housing or a stable employment. Also, when you're calling 211, you have staff that are evaluating eligibility for programs, and they help sift through the available programs. At times it can be overwhelming to see a list of programs and know exactly where to start. So a 211 agent is going to help do that for you. So what is involved in a 211 call? Well, first you have trained and caring staff who are going to be empathetic and listen to the problems that you are currently facing. We also have a callback feature so that if we aren't able to answer your call in a timely fashion, we will call you back. We also collect demographics to determine eligibility. We're able to assess for services available and screen for underlying needs. Referrals are based on assessment needs, and we're able to text and email those referrals to the caller. Many times we're giving multiple referrals, and especially someone in crisis, they can have problems remembering that. So sending a text and email is a great way to help them store that information. We also offer a follow-up for callers. For example, if somebody is currently without work and we've given them different community resources, maybe to Ohio Means Jobs, maybe to the Career Center, we might follow up with them and see how those referrals helped them. We might see if they need maybe any additional resources. Following up is a unique feature that really helps us understand the client and what the client is going through and how we can help further. So that's all great, but what about if you can't call 211 for a referral? Well, that's why we're here today. We're going to go over the 211 resource database and what it entails and what is the best search method to find results. First, it's a comprehensive database. It has over 1,000 government and nonprofit agencies. In this case, that is 1,000 agencies that are serving Medina County. We follow national standards and we are accredited. We have a governing body that makes sure that our referrals are up to par, that the information is correct, and that our agencies are good standing. We also have an inclusion criteria and a style guide. This just has a way of us making sure that we are including what we should include in the database, and the style guide helps us determine and make sure that every single listing looks the same. So any food pantry listing you look at, any housing listing you look at, they are all going to be formatted the exact same way. And of course, it can be accessed online, and that's the best part. The public and case managers can use it at any time. It's free and open 24/7. So to get started, we're going to go to 211medina.org. And if you're able to follow along either on your phone or if you've got another screen so that you can watch and also navigate, that's great. If not, these slides should be enough to give you an idea of how to navigate. So the first thing that we want to do to get started is to put in a zip code here at the very, very top white box. It's going to say enter a zip code, and then beside that, it's going to say select a city. Many times a zip code, there can be multiple cities or neighboring cities, so we want to make sure that we're really fine-tuning that and finding the exact resources either for you or the client that you're serving. This is optional, but it's actually going to limit the results based on eligibility, and it's going to provide results based on proximity. These are important because, for example, if you will want to visit a food pantry, you want to make sure that the area that you live in, that you are eligible to actually go to that food pantry. And proximity is also important, especially for someone who may have to walk to the services. So they want to make sure, for example, if they are visiting the food pantry, that it is in walking distance. So it is a good idea to put that zip code in there, even though it's optional. Okay, scrolling down from there, you will see we have a multitude of different search options and ways to get started. The first option is through our top 3 categories. this is what we get calls about the most, and that is why it is organized this way. About 90% of our calls fall into one of these three categories, so it's up top for easier searching. In the middle there, you have our service categories. These are also important. However, they don't meet quite the same need as the top three. So we do want to make sure that those are able to be seen, they're out in the open, but we know that the most important are, of course, in the top three. Below that, in the middle, we have top 10 services. And to the right, view all categories. Below, you'll see 3 pictures. Those are our population categories. This is going to have information that is only for that target population. So if you click on one of these, you're only going to find resources for veterans, older adults, etc. Down at the very bottom, you're going to see a blue box, and this is our service keyword, and below that, agency program search. This is when you know exactly what you want to find, and this is where you would type it. For example, if you were looking for Salvation Army, you could type it there in the agency and it will come up. This is helpful if, like I said, you know exactly what you're looking for, but oftentimes you don't and you actually need to browse. So keep that in mind. And at the very, very bottom, we have view all services. That's going to be every single category, taxonomy term, service that we house in the 211 database. So it's fun to thumb through, but it's actually not that helpful to use when working with clients. And we're going to go through each of these individually. This is just an overarching view of all the different ways to search. Okay, so option 1 is our top 3 categories that we talked about. These are the ones that get called about the most. So that's food, utilities, and housing. If you click on each one, it's going to give you a list of different items that you can choose. For example, if you click on food, you're going to see food pantries, you'll see meals, you'll see WIC, you'll see different ways to obtain food. Utilities, quite the same. When you click there, you're going to see the different utilities that you may be able to find help with. Same with housing. So if there's going to be rent help, you're going to find it in financial assistance. If you need help with subsidized housing, that's all going to be under housing and shelter. Option 2 is going to be our service categories. I broke it down a little further into healthcare. And you can see here, when you press the blue arrow that points down, it's going to actually expand the view. And here I show the example of eye care. So when you expand that view, you're going to see underneath each category, you'll see little, for example, veterans, older adults, glaucoma, things of that nature. If you're working with a client that fits one of those target categories, go ahead and click on that, and that's going to give them very specific results for their category. However, if the client that you're working with doesn't fall into that category, you're going to want to click the top subcategory. For example, in this eye care expense assistance, that will get you all the listings without a specific target. And that's going to be used more for the general public. You may have noticed by now, as you are going through these different services, at times there is a circle with an exclamation point. This is if you don't know what a certain taxonomy term might mean. Taxonomy isn't always friendly. However, it is the organizational form that we have to use for 211. But it doesn't always mean that the layperson or just normal people using the database would use our taxonomy in normal day language. For example, we use soup kitchen, and that could mean community meals or a hot meal for other folks. But for us, you would look under soup kitchens for a hot meal. Another example would be general clothing provision. Well, nobody uses that word usually when they're looking for free clothing, but that's exactly what it means in our taxonomy system. General clothing provision would be a way to find free clothing. So as you are going through the categories, and if you see a term that you just aren't sure exactly what it means, click that question mark and it's going to give you a definition. Okay, and back to the main page so that we can see our next search option. That's going to be our population categories. And again, this is a way that we group information for certain individuals. So on the Medina page, the top 3 that we currently see used the most are parents and children, older adults, veterans, and military. So we have those at the page so that if you fall into one of those brackets, you may want to click there and find services that are dedicated to your population. And of course, there are other categories and other target populations. You would want to press View All Categories to see a complete list of population groups and needs. So on that main page, we talked about the top 10 button very briefly. It's right there in the middle. It's a blue button. This is the easiest way to find high demand services such as food pantries, rent assistance, and utility help. It's actually arranged with the most referred service at the top, and it changes based on yearly data. So these might change a little bit throughout the year, but we do see year by year. Usually these services stay pretty stagnant. Changes to needs don't change that much to where these would be reorganized in some, a large manner. But they are arranged based on 211 calls. And it's a really good option to use when you have a client that maybe is just really overwhelmed. They don't know where to start. I need help with everything, they say. I don't know what to do. There's nothing that I don't need help with. Well, this is a great place to start then, because you can go one through one, almost like a checklist fashion, and find them resources for each service. And then back to our main page, to the right of top 10 categories, you're going to see View All. And this is going to open the categories that don't appear on the first page. And it's not that they're not important, they just aren't used as often. We do update this based on our calls as well. So for example, if we do know of a disaster that may have occurred, we may move this button, the disaster button, to the front page so that it's easier to access. So we have the ability to change these categories around as well. And as the need arises, we may switch them to the front page. Right now, seasonal services is displayed. One of the reasons for that is because we do have a lot of agencies helping with holiday gifts and toys. We have Thanksgiving baskets and Christmas baskets for those holiday meals. So we do see a lot of people calling about those services right now. And also during tax season for our tax appointments, this service is also used frequently. So that is at the front of the page because it is a highly sought after category at this moment. Okay, and then down just a little further to that light blue box, you're going to see our keyword search, and this is the 6th way that we could search the database. As I've mentioned before, this is a little bit more specific and you have to know exactly what you're looking for. But one trick to using this is to slowly fill out the area and let it populate for you. So for example, if you started off with the word food, you can see to the box to the right, it is going to start to self-populate options for you. And the more you type, the smaller that list of options get. So really that's the easiest way to start with a service keyword. Keep it simple and keep it short and let it do the work. It is not like Google. If you put in, I need food or I need housing, it is not going to work. So just short and simple, put food, let it expand the results, put housing, let it expand the results. Right beneath that, we've got our agency and program name. This is also very specific, so you either have to know the program name you are looking for, or you have to know the agency name. And it works the exact same way. So you're going to want to have to like start off with the one word and let it expand. So for example, Humane Society or Salvation Army or Feeding for Feeding Medina County, you're going to want to start with that one word and let it expand its results for you. If you put in any kind of abbreviations, it's not going to recognize those abbreviations. If you put any shorthand, it will not recognize those. So again, not like Google, but the best way to use this is to start off small and let it populate for you. Okay, so we're going to take a deep dive into the service results, and we're going to talk about what information can be found in each one. So the example that I pulled from was the top 10. So if you can go back to your top 10 button from the starting page, it's right there in the middle, it's the blue button. That's going to show you your first one will probably be food pantries. If not, it's because it's been rearranged by now, but my guess is that it is food pantries. So go ahead and click on that. And from there, you're going to get your search results. And if you've already put in your zip code, then it's already showing you based on your eligibility and based on your proximity. And today I'm showing that I have 37 matching service providers for the zip code that I entered. Yours might vary depending on what zip code you entered. The first bit of information that we're going to see here is the agency name. And in this result, it is Northside Christian Church. Yours might differ. Beneath that, we have the site name, Northside Christian Church, Medina campus. This agency has 2 different campuses, and we do have them both in the database. So that lets you know exactly which site that this service is attached to. Below that, we have something called a group name. This is something that the resource team here at 211 creates. It lets you know in a word or two what this is and when it is. So it gives you very brief information, but it gets you started because if you know that you need a food pantry on Tuesday, then this might be worth looking into further. Below that is a program name. Not every service has a program name, but in this case, it is Helping Hands Food Pantry. And below that, we have a service description. So here we can see it provides a food pantry with a 3-day supply of groceries for individuals and families in need. Provides basic essential hygiene items, cleaning supplies that aren't usually covered by food stamps or public assistance. Below that, we have an address and service phone number. So that's just one result, but that shows you enough information to know if you want to look further or if you need to keep going down the list. If you do want more information, the next step would be to click, of course, the View More Info button. Once you do press that View More Info button, you're going to get a detailed view of service information. This may seem overwhelming and like a lot of information. However, we find that the more information we include, the more empowered somebody feels to take control of a situation and to help themselves. It is very hard to have information as a barrier. It usually creates fear. They don't want to seek out help because they don't know what to do. So having this information here is really helpful so that someone can take control of their situation. The first thing that we will see, besides that basic information that we went over on the collapsed view, you're going to have intake procedures. This is going to let a person know exactly how to get started. Are they going to walk in for help? Do they have to get in line? Do they have to visit the website and make a reservation? All of that will be included first thing so that they know how to take advantage of this service. The second is fees. This will let you know if there's any fees involved with obtaining service. Usually the answer is no, but I have seen some food pantries that would like, for example, a $2 donation or a $5 membership fee for a year. This usually helps them procure more food. I don't see it often, but I have seen it. So we do put fee information here just to let the person know if they need any money in order to be helped. That would be a big hurdle if they didn't have that. The other next, is eligibility. And that is going to be where your service eligibility may be for area. If you live in a certain zip code, you may or may not be eligible. Sometimes age is an eligibility. For example, if you're an older adult, there may be food pantries that are only catered to older adults. So eligibility is important for people to know. It helps get them over the hurdle of if they should even attempt to access the service. Hours is next, and that's going to be your service hours. That is going to be the hours that the program actually runs. And in this case, this would be the pantry hours. If they have languages other than English on site, that will also be in this information. As you can imagine, language can be a huge hurdle. If someone doesn't speak English, maybe they aren't comfortable and they would rather find a service that also is Spanish speaking. And sometimes there are volunteers that are able to do that at different agencies and different services. So we do put that in there if we are aware of it. Documents required. Most all pantries require at least an ID. This one wants proof of residency, and usually when proof of residency is required, they want a piece of mail that's been mailed to you, and usually even junk mail will work, but they want to make sure that you are indeed living in the area. Site hours. Now this is different than hours that are above. Now site hours are for the entire duration of when a building might be open. So the building might be open from 8 to 5, but the hours of the program are only going to be maybe 11 to 2 to say. So the site hours are not the same as the program hours necessarily. So it is important to look at that. Travel instructions, we put information about where this building might be located. Sometimes we try to find landmarks or things that are easily noticed. We don't usually put east, south, west. We understand most people, they may have an understanding of that, but we don't want that to be an additional hurdle. So we may say across from the Red Robin, or, diagonal from Wally Waffle, or we might have something there so that if you see a building, you say, aha, I know I'm close, and they can start kind of finding their way from that. Accessibility, we do have information on if a service is accessible by wheelchair, or if there are other entrances available, bathrooms available. So we do have accessibility information. Below that is services, and that's all services associated with the program. So if they are giving out personal hygiene items, toiletry items, clothing, that will also be displayed as a service that maybe doesn't fall under the food pantry, but still can be accessed from the same site. Okay. And then to the right of this expanded area, you're going to see the option to email or text. We know that there's a lot of information. I've just gone through every field that we could, and this is a lot to remember. So even if you tell your client, it's very possible, like I said, they're in crisis mode. They don't always remember everything that you have said to them. Something written down can easily be lost. We do have the option here to send it to email or send it to text. One thing I do like to remind people of is it's standard texting rates. So if somebody has a reduced texting plan, if they perhaps have a government phone that has a texting restriction, the amount of text that they can receive and send, you may want to just let them know that this is something that could incur a fee if they don't have texts. Of course, usually email is a safe way to send it as long as they do have an email address to send that to. When you send this to them, they are going to see the exact same expanded view that you see here. So they'll get a URL that will lead to this. So other features that we are able to do, if you go back to the condensed view of all the services, on the right, it's actually going to show you a few other ways that you can either map or print or email. If you go to map all, what it's going to do is it's going to display a Google map with little ping points of where each service is located. This can be helpful, especially if you live in a large city. You put in that zip code, you put in that city, but still, if somebody needs to walk to it or maybe wants some further directions, it's not all that helpful unless it's mapped out. So this will give you an idea of exactly where something is on a map. Your print page is going to print exactly what you see. So it's going to print the condensed view of all of those resources. Email link, the same thing. It's going to send a URL of those condensed resources. The upside of this is that when they receive the email link, they are able to actually expand those resources. So of course on print page, it's just going to give you enough information for each of those agencies and services. They won't be able to expand it, of course. So if you go to email link, it gives you the exact same results page, but they would be able to go to the link and able to expand each one. Refine search. Here you can actually change your zip code. I find this helpful when I'm working with a client and let's say they work in, I don't know, maybe Lorraine or some other zip code in Medina. And they were like, well, I work in this zip code. Instead of 44256, could we check this other zip code that I work closer to? So you could actually change the zip code here rather than going back to the main page and starting your search all over again. You can also refine search details. And that's going to be if there is a target population attached to some services, it will bring a drop-down box of those target populations. So for example, older adults, for example, veterans. And if there are services that are only for those target populations, you can choose one of them from the drop box and it will show you that refined result. Okay, so that's most of how to search the 211 database. Next, I want to take you through some other options and some ways to find data and how to contact us. The first thing we'll do is go to the data dashboard. And you can find this link at the top banner of anywhere that you're at right now. So if you've been searching pantries or wherever you've been searching, that top banner should still be displayed. And you should be able to see data dashboard there in the middle. This provides real-time visual presentation of data about community needs based on 211 calls. So as calls are coming through, this information actually changes. We can actually see the needs of the community. We can see the needs by zip code. And to change the zip code, you actually could go up to the top box, and when you bring the drop down where it says all, you will be able to see where you can change the zip code, the city, the township. There is currently still on the data dashboard a COVID-19. This would be for COVID-19 resources. However, most communities don't have COVID-19 resources any longer, so this information wouldn't really be that helpful, but it does still exist on the dashboard so that you can view that. This information is great if you are writing a grant proposal, if agencies maybe are coming to you and saying, what are the needs in the community and how can we best address them? This can give you real-time information on which zip codes have the most need for housing, which have the most need for food. It can give you real insight into the community's needs. And as you click each option, for example, food, utilities, it's going to give you a top 10 zip codes in the county that you chose, and it ranks them based on need. And the next thing that we'll go into at that top bar is for service providers, and of course that's all of you. More than likely your agency is in the database, but there are times when we don't have the newest information, or perhaps you're a new agency and we don't have your information. This is a great place to start. So anytime a service agency wants to contact us, they can find the best information here for updating. They can find the new program form. They can find the web survey portal. Of course, the web survey portal is only going to be useful if you are already established with our 211 database. This is where you'd be able to update the information that we have entered. We also have the inclusion-exclusion criteria here, which is important. We do ask that you read it over before asking to be added to the database. The only reason why is because the program form and the new agency form is lengthy, and it is great to know ahead of time if you might be a fit. And of course, if you have any questions or want to know if you're a fit, you can always contact us, and we'll get to how to contact us in a moment. Okay, back to that back to that banner. At the top, you'll see e-newsletter. For Medina County, we do put together a resource newsletter, and this is sent out monthly. And this is usually programming that's very short term, but still very, very important to the community. Some examples of last things that have been in the resource wire: car seat installations, free car seats for eligible parents and guardians, holiday gifts and toys. Salvation Army has recently opened up their holiday gift and toy programs so that parents can sign up, parents and guardians can sign up for toys for their kids. School supplies, when free school supplies are happening, we have information on that. So it's just really good resources for the community, but that might be short-lived, and we want to draw your attention to it. So if you would like to sign up, just press e-newsletter. Once there, you can actually see the last 3 resource wires that have been sent out, and you can also sign up for the subsequent resource wires that will be coming out. Okay, and then here at the bottom of the top banner where it says contact, this is the contact us page. So you can use this to get additional information on how to contact 211. You can actually use this form if you are looking for resources. Say that you were on the website and you didn't find what you were looking for and you wanted to know if we could help point you somewhere. I will tell you that sometimes this can take at least a day for us to get back to you, so it's not the fastest form of communication, but we will get your request and we will see what we can do to assist you in finding those resources. If you have resource updates and you want to just type out a quick blurb of something that has changed, for example, pantry hours have changed from 9 to 1 to noon to 3, you could just put that in there and send it off to us and we can get that updated. Also, if you're looking for a speaker request, so if you need someone to do a 211 training for you, you could actually make the request through here and we can handle that and we can get you set up with a speaker. You can also request materials. So if you need 211 posters, if you need 211 flashcards, actually called hot cards, but they're about the size of a flashcard. They just give you information on what 211 can help with, how to access our services. So it's just really nice to be able to give to your clients. I have some individuals who have contacted me. They want to put it in their Thanksgiving food baskets that they're handing out. So it's just a really great way to get the information out, and we can always handle any requests and get those to you in a timely manner. And that is it for our presentation today. I am Anna Boatwright. I am the manager of 211 Resources. I have a team of 2. We are able to get all your information and update the database as needed. And you've either probably come to contact with me or my team, but we're constantly out there in the community, online, making phone calls, trying to find those good resources. So if I haven't gotten a hold of you and you need to get a hold of me, my email is going to be the best way to do that. So boatwright at uwsummitmedina.org. And of course, you can always call 211. Thank you so much for attending today. Please, if you have any questions, please do use our contact form or reach out to me directly. I usually do get to you faster than a day. So if there are any questions about resources or today's training, I would be happy to answer those for you. Thanks again and have a great day.